It is midnight in Italy. This is a live shot of the Vatican, where tonight there is a new pope.
Habemus Papam.
The announcement made just after 7 p.m. local time, just after 1 in the afternoon here. The notification that a pope had been chosen was met with cheering by the thousands of faithful who gathered in St. Peter's Square. Good evening. It's a historic first for the Catholic Church. An American's been chosen as the 267th occupant of the throne of St. Peter, the new Bishop of Rome, better known as Pope.
The decision coming on the second day of voting by cardinals. Born Robert Prevost, the 69-year-old Chicago native has taken the name Leo XIV. The white smoke billowing from a chimney atop the Sistine Chapel over the noon hour Toronto time, signifying the election of a new pope. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin has more on how the day unfolded.
The sound of bells sent thousands running from the streets of Rome.
What do you think? Yes.
As to an already packed St. Peter's Square. Tens of thousands there watched a family of seagulls perch near the chimney as white smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel.
Unbelievable, yes.
All gathered here from around the world to watch this moment in history.
Habemus Papam.
We have a pope, said the senior cardinal deacon. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who has taken the name Leo XIV, emerged on the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus.
Peace be with all of you were his first words as he called for the world to build bridges, and he also recited an Ave Maria.
Forum Apostolorum Petri et Pauli et omnium sanctorum.
The faithful and the world now analyzing his speech and past to determine in what direction he will lead the church. Leo XIV is a 69-year-old American born in Chicago, Illinois, to Italian and French parents. He spent years as a missionary in Peru and becomes the first pope from the Augustinian order, the first American.
Cardinals saw in Leo XIV, this man, newly elected pope, someone who's going to continue the legacy of Pope Francis and at the same time give it a new face.
Et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et
His name was not among those seen as frontrunners entering the conclave.
Is it actually an American pope?
It's actually an American pope.
Where's he from?
He's from Illinois.
I think that's awesome. It's a great way. I mean, there's a lot going on in our country right now, but I think it's really cool.
Quella mattina del giorno di Pasqua.
An American pope from a military and economic superpower was thought unthinkable to many analysts.
So?
Viva Papa!
And his election on the fourth round of voting after black smoke had emerged twice from the chimney came faster than expected. In days to come, there are celebrations, but also a mass here on St. Peter's Square in honor of the new pope, but also moments of reflection ahead. Genevieve Beauchemin, CTV News, Vatican City.
Well, you could see the scenes there. The choosing of a new pope met with excitement by millions of faithful around the world,
Including Catholics across the GTA, now led by a man born just a few hours from here. CTV's Allison Hurst has been speaking with parishioners and joins us live with their reaction. Allison.
Many of them were in Mass at the time when the smoke turned white, and so when they came out, they were greeted and welcomed with the news that there was a new pope. Michael Choi watched the live stream on his computer while Mass took place in the chapel behind him.
When I saw the smoke coming out, I was like, what the heck? And it's just, I guess it's a shock.
Thrilled to witness the moment as a young Catholic himself.
I pray and I hope Pope Leo XIV will be, guiding the next generation of Catholics.
As parishioners left Mass, they were welcomed with the news of a new pope.
We're overwhelmed with joy that our prayers are heard.
I hope he'll follow in Pope Francis's footsteps. And that's what then bring unity in the world, especially in Gaza. That's what I'm hoping for.
69-year-old Pope Leo XIV was born in Chicago as Robert Prevost. He was elected after just 2 days of voting.
He was kind of on my long list as the only American because, in a sense, he's the American who spent so much time outside of the United States and essentially as a missionary bishop.
In his first address, Pope Leo spoke of peace.
You saw that sense of his invocation of peace, the significance of peace, which isn't simply calm or harmony, but a kind of a just, ordered understanding of world affairs, from the human person through to conflicts between states.
Catholics like Karen Britton were happy to see it only took 4 ballots to elect the next pope.
It's good news. Not a lot of indecision. It looks like very quick conclave results, so that's always good when things seem to be united with the cardinals.
Because they had some favorites that would bring, a conclusion pretty quickly. So, but this was a surprise because he wasn't listed as one of the favorites.
Pope Leo became a cardinal in 2023. Many say that they're happy the decision didn't take too long and hope that it brings continuity to the church. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. We have more on the new Pope from Vatican City in a moment. But first, here's a look at the forecast. Here's a live look at the city. We are dropping the single digits tonight, a major cool down, but temperatures bounce back up tomorrow and Saturday. Lots of sunshine on the way. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yes, Nathan, lots to look forward to through the long range, but tonight we have to talk about the clearing, the calm winds, and the cool temperatures resulting in the risk of frost. Right now, we see our satellite and radar. That cloud cover continues to move out, but temperature-wise, we are already in the single digits again for the Toronto Islands at 8 degrees and 10 at Pearson. We did make it to a high of 12 earlier this afternoon. Winds are coming out of the east. They will become light. There's the frost advisory that's in place. We'll talk about this and show you the warmer weather that is set to return coming up. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
The game, 2 for Florida, 1 for Toronto. Scores! And the Leafs have another lead!
The Toronto Maple Leafs are in unfamiliar territory, up 2-0 in their second-round playoff series against the defending Stanley Cup champions. The Leafs won last night 4-3 over the Florida Panthers.
They now head to Florida with a lead in the series, but the team isn't planning to coast on their early victories. CTV's Sean Lee Thong is live tonight outside the Ford Performance Center with the latest. Sean, how about our Leafs?
They're doing well, Michelle and Nathan, and it's part of what we saw last night. It's been something of a surprise to Leaf fans. Now, Leaf fans will remember in the past there's been a story around this team. One bad thing happens, and it seems to unravel from there. Now, we saw in the third period that Florida came back, tied the game at 3, and there was almost a belief that the Leafs would just push on through, and we didn't believe how fast they would come back. But here's what happened.
For Florida, 1 for Toronto. Scores! And the Leafs have another lead!
A 2-0 series lead for the Leafs. Playoff success not seen in decades, and fans are loving every minute.
Oh my God, best game ever.
We believe, baby! We bleed blue! The boys are going! Yeah!
As Scotiabank Arena was rocking last night, players say it's something they can definitely feel.
The building's more alive right now, and it's beautiful to see. We feed off the crowd, and when they get the Go Leafs Go chants going, we definitely hear that. So it's been a privilege to be out there skating around, yeah.
Nylander scores!
And what has quickly become part of this team's identity, the ability to fight back after falling behind twice last night.
We want to be able to respond to those moments, and it seems to have been happening, and it's not something that we're going to take for granted.
I think it's been all year where most of the year or in playoffs where we respond, we get scored on. It's like, well, okay, we need a good shift now. And I think our guys, 1 through 4 in the lines and the D go out there and with that mentality. We're not gonna sit back and, oh, here they come, we're gonna go after them.
Along with timely goals like Max Domi striking to take the lead in the second period.
I was maybe going to bury my head and just try to take that to the house, but I heard Maxie yelling, and I thought I'd throw it over to him. I think he's got a little better shot at scoring a goal than I do.
It's into the middle, spin across. Oh, what a stop! As Wall cuts across.
And perhaps what was the biggest question mark going into Game 2, goalie Joseph Woll in for the injured Anthony Stolarz, making save after save. Now the team has the task of winning when the crowd is not on their side.
So the Leafs are in the exact same place they were last series against the Ottawa Senators, heading out on the road, up 2-0. It's the perfect scenario, but they are going to Florida and playing against the Stanley Cup champions. So you imagine it will be a very difficult road when they come back home. Before reporting live, I'm Sean Lee Thong. Michelle, send it back to you.
you, Sean. And later in the newscast, we'll hear from Toronto's other professional hockey team finding playoff success. The Toronto Scepters take an early lead in their series against Minnesota.
Back to our top story. For those in St. Peter's Square today, it was a chance to witness history as the new Pope was introduced to the world.
Among the tens of thousands of faithful, a number of journalists as well, including CTV News' Adrian Gabriel, who is live tonight in Vatican City. Adrian, I know it's late there. It's been a long, very eventful day. Talk to us about what it was like this afternoon in the square when the new Pope made his first appearance.
Yeah, just a historic day. I'd even take it back, Michelle, about 6 p.m. local time. We were live on CTV News Channel, and we heard the first roar of the crowd. And then we saw the smoke began to billow from the Sistine Chapel, and then the church bell began to toll at St. Peter's Basilica and echo throughout Vatican City and across Rome. Quite a moving moment. And then as Cardinal Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, made his way to the balcony, just cheers and celebrations. We saw people dancing in St. Peter's Square. We saw tears of joy. We also, saw, people trying to figure out, who is this cardinal? Because he wasn't necessarily one that was on the list of names. And yet, in just 24 hours from when the conclave began to when the white smoke billowed out of the Sistine Chapel, this record number of cardinals, 133, came to a decision rather quickly.
Yes, since Pope Francis's passing, there's been so much speculation as to who would be chosen, and ultimately, it isn't one of the perceived frontrunners. What has the reaction been there to this selection, and what do you make of the first things that he said?
Yeah, well, the first words he uttered were "Peace be with you." And he is looked at as someone cut from the same cloth as Pope Francis, if you will, someone who can help unite not just the Catholic Church, but perhaps even the world. A lot of people weren't expecting an American Pope to be selected because America has such an oversized place already in the world as a superpower. But then when we take a step back and we look at the geopolitics of the world, we look at what's happening in the Catholic Church, perhaps it becomes clear that Pope Leo XIV is actually a pope for this moment. He born in Chicago, Illinois in 1955. He also spent 2 decades in Peru. He was called back to the Vatican by Pope Francis to work with bishops around the world, and he's looked at as someone who can perhaps unite the Americas, from South to North America, as well as unite the church. A really interesting decision, and we saw his humility. He is not someone who's outspoken. He's also described as probably the least American of all the cardinals. So it'll be interesting to see how he works along with the U.S. Government, the current government, because his policies, as he's shared even on social media, don't align with many of the policies from the United States. But it's going to be really fascinating in the days, the weeks, the months, and hopefully the years ahead. We know we'll be following it closely.
It makes you wonder what this new Pope is thinking tonight there in the Vatican. CTV's Adrian Gabriel live for us in Vatican City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, a man was rushed to hospital this morning after a shooting in Mississauga. Peel police say they were called to the scene on Lundin Road a few minutes after 8 a.m. That's near the QEW and Winston Churchill Boulevard. Police confirmed a man was shot. Paramedics later said those injuries were minor and the victim was being treated in a local hospital. 2 schools in the area were put into hold and secure, but that status was lifted by early afternoon. So far, investigators have not shared any suspect information.
A new province-wide campaign aims to tackle the issue of 911 misuse.
It aims to educate Ontarians about what actually constitutes an emergency so those really in need can reach first responders faster. CTV's John Musselman reports.
Police services across the province say calls to 911 have increased rapidly in the last few years, but nearly half of those 911 calls are not emergencies.
This misuse includes not only nuisance calls, but it also includes calls from residents seeking access to community services. In fact, our research indicates that 30% of Ontarians don't know what number to call other than 911 for answers to their questions about simple municipal services.
Today, a new provincial campaign was launched at a news conference in Brampton to help reduce the number of non-emergency calls flooding into 911 centers. It's called When Every Second Counts. The aim is to educate the public on proper 911 usage and to avoid calls like this one to a 911 operator we reported on last year.
911, do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
Yeah, my television is going crazy.
Sorry?
I can't get any channels or nothing.
Your TV?
Pardon me?
Your television?
Yeah.
Okay, you've dialed into 911 right now. Do you have a life-threatening emergency? Hello?
Who do I call?
Okay, you need to call 611.
We had calls, people complaining about a cricket game being noisy. That's not the right reason to call 911. Don't take police away or first responders away from a critical response.
This campaign's intended to help navigate them to those alternate numbers that can help them source the answer to the question that they're facing at a particular point in time and avoid the use of 911.
The campaign includes all the correct contact numbers the public should use for non-emergencies in communities right across the province. John Musselman, CTV News in Brampton.
The Ford government plans to introduce new measures aimed at speeding up housing development in the province.
But some worry the initiatives will be ineffective and may trample on parts of the planning process usually dealt with at the municipal level. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris explains.
With Ontario falling further behind on its goal of building 1.5 million homes by 2031, the government's taking another crack at kickstarting the effort.
It takes too long and it costs too much to get shovels in the ground. So the initiatives we're going to introduce next week have everything to do with speed and lowering costs.
That will include getting involved in which studies developers have to do to satisfy municipalities. And there will be changes to the development charges builders pay. The housing minister says those charges are an important tool to pay for things like roads and sewers.
But they can't be punitive. In some cases, they're too high, and we need to make sure that they're not hurting the cash flow of home builders getting shovels in the ground.
The Green leader thinks there's room for change, but with a caveat.
We don't want to take the burden of that infrastructure off of new home buyers and put it on existing homeowners.
The former mayor of Mississauga turned Liberal leader sees what's coming as provincial overreach.
These are the responsibilities of municipalities who understand their communities, who understand where to put density and intensification.
The government will also give King Asurma, the Minister of Infrastructure, new power to issue minister zoning orders, or MZOs. They allow development proposals to skip some parts of the planning process, usually hammered out at the municipal level.
This minister has a terrible track record. I don't think she can be trusted with that power. I'm very deeply concerned about it.
Minister Flack insists there will be a backstop.
The MZO due diligence will still be done in my ministry, so it's about speed and getting shovels in the ground faster.
In December, the Auditor General slammed the way the government's been issuing MZOs, saying more than 100 were approved through an ad hoc process, and in many cases, they didn't accelerate construction at all. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
And also at Queen's Park, parents are speaking out about proposed cuts to educational services being considered by school boards like the TDSB.
Stand here today enraged, almost to the point of tears, and heartbroken at the lack of chronic funding for our public education system.
The Toronto District School Board and others are considering cuts to help clear deficits running in the tens of millions of dollars. Parents of children with special needs say they're going to suffer the impacts if supports and specialized classrooms are cut. The education minister says he's hearing from parents that want dollars refocused on the classroom.
That is what I'm asking the boards to do. Work with me, double down on ensuring a line-by-line approach to funding so that we can ensure that maximum resources go to our teachers so that they can maximize the time that they spend with students.
Paul Calandra says he's prepared to take control of the TDSB if it can't get its books in order. He also says the province is spending more than ever on education. Critics say that doesn't account for the cost of rising inflation.
Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey is bidding farewell to Toronto City Hall as she heads for Parliament Hill. McKelvey was elected as the MP for Ajax in last week's federal election. Her office says tomorrow will be her last day as deputy mayor and councillor for Scarborough Rouge Park. She also took on the responsibilities of the office of the mayor after John Tory's resignation until Olivia Chow was elected. McKelvey said in a statement, "It's been an immense honor to serve at City Hall for the last 7 years, and she's enjoyed every minute."
In Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced his administration has reached a trade deal with the United Kingdom.
Today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade.
Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access.
The terms of the deal still have to be completed, so it hasn't been signed yet. But the White House says the agreement will open up the UK market to American beef, ethanol, and other agricultural products. It will also allow British cars and steel better access to U.S. consumers. A group representing GM, Ford, and Stellantis insists the deal will harm the American sector. It says it will now be cheaper to import a UK vehicle than a USMCA-compliant vehicle from Canada or Mexico. Meanwhile, the U.S. will maintain a 10% universal duty on nearly all imports from the UK. Well, today marks the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War in Europe. It was an historic moment in which Canada had a significant role. More than 1.1 million Canadians served, and 45,000 of them did not return. Today, those sacrifices were recognized across the country. CTV's Abigail Beeman reports.
I wanted to know the importance of this day for you.
Every day is important for me. I'm living. I'm 102 right now.
Warrant Officer Roland Lalonde remembers his role in the liberation of the Netherlands from Nazi occupation 80 years ago.
It always brings a memory of the service. It always comes back at some time or another. But I had a good life.
While more than 1 million Canadians served in the Second World War, only a few thousand are still alive to tell their stories.
I am not a hero. I'm a simple sailor, and I was 18 years old when I went to sea.
A time 80 years ago when Canada was a consequential nation, where we contributed mightily to the Allied victory, standing with Britain and the United States against the Nazi threat.
We honor brave Canadians and Allied troops who answered the call to fight.
This Ottawa ceremony paid tribute to Victory Day in Europe and the Dutch liberation.
You are free because of them.
Where Canada's pivotal role has not been forgotten.
My father was 4 years old when he was liberated, and he told me he was waving a little flag, and he was so excited, and they got chocolate. They still think Canadian chocolate is the best in the world because of that first imprint.
While in London, the royal family marked VE Day.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May.
Along with Winston Churchill's great-great-grandson.
Let us pray for peace in Europe and across the world, in our time and for generations to come.
Marking VE Day in this moment of heightened geopolitical tensions lends an extra feel of significance, with many reflecting on the importance of peace, both then and now. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
And here in Toronto, a wreath-laying ceremony took place this morning to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Veterans and government officials, including Mayor Olivia Chow, took part in the commemoration at the Victory Peace Monument in Coronation Park.
Coming up on CTV News, looking to get to Niagara quicker? How about a hovercraft? The dream of a rapid transit passenger service from Toronto has cleared a big hurdle. We'll explain.
Well, tonight, temperatures are going to fall close to 0 degrees in parts of southern Ontario, hence the risk of some patchy frost. Now, many people haven't yet gotten into the garden yet this season, but if you have, there's a couple of things you can do. If you have planters or hanging baskets, bring them inside tonight if possible. If you have planted in the ground, you can cover them up with a blanket to protect them from some frost. We'll show you who is under that frost advisory once again, coming up in your forecast. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It would be a revolutionary way to get from Toronto to Niagara, cutting travel time to just minutes.
The officials behind a proposed hovercraft passenger service say they are one step closer to launch. CTV's Mike Walker reports.
A rapid transit hovercraft service on Lake Ontario that could transport passengers between Toronto and the Niagara region in just 30 minutes is one step closer to reality.
Oh, it's going to be so much faster. It's going to be fast. It's going to be efficient.
Hoverlink Ontario has just finalized a docking agreement with Ports Toronto to secure a landing spot next to Billy Bishop Airport on the western gap of the Toronto Harbour. The company has previously secured the Niagara landing spot in St. Catharines.
This was the most significant milestone that we had to achieve. It's what creates a route versus a ride around the lake.
This agreement comes after extensive consultation, with Ports Toronto stating this service will reduce traffic and congestion on our highways and make better use of the lake and harbour for transportation, something that it says is long overdue. Currently by car, the trip takes more than an hour and a half without traffic.
Would like to go more often, but just because it's so out of the way, that's why I don't travel there. But if there was a ferry, straight across the water, that would be really convenient.
Hoverlink says the service will be year-round, targeting both commuters and tourists. Its two hovercrafts can carry up to 180 passengers per trip, with shuttle buses connecting travelers to tourist destinations across Niagara.
And we can remove at full capacity close to 9,000 cars off of the QEW. That's a lot of CO2 emissions that we're reducing over time.
Projecting more than 24 trips per day. A launch date hasn't been set. Hoverlink's president says there is still a lot of work to be done, including permits, building the hovercrafts, and hiring staff.
2 years, and it could be a little bit longer because of the tariff situation right now. We are trying to reduce the time to construct by choosing prefabricated buildings and also trying to choose Canadian wherever possible for our manufacturing.
As for the price of a ticket, that's something the company is still evaluating. At this point, Hoverlink anticipates the service will be launched in 2027 at the earliest. Mike Walker, CTV News.
As the world marks 80 years since Victory in Europe Day, this weekend we'll see the return of an annual thank you gesture from the government of the Netherlands to the people of Toronto. This is a look at last year's Toronto Tulip Day, celebrating the flower which is famously cultivated and beloved by people in the Netherlands. The Dutch consulate says it will hold the event once again this weekend, and it will be giving out 40,000 tulips as a symbol of enduring gratitude and ongoing friendship 80 years after Canadian troops helped liberate the country. It'll take place Saturday at Nathan Phillips Square, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
You know, it's the time of year when, let's say the kids have baseball tonight. Last night, maybe you were wearing shorts and a T-shirt. Tonight, you better wear a coat, maybe some thick pants. It's chilly out there.
You need the sweater on standby, although we are getting there, and we're talking about tulips in Nathan Phillips Square. I mean, it's going to be gorgeous on Saturday for that.
And I also want to mention the fact that there are a lot of tulip fields, tulip farms, even tulip festivals that you can check out this weekend. In fact, we might be checking one of them out tomorrow on CTV News. So there's your little tease to tune in 24 hours from now. And it's going to be a great weekend if you want to get out and enjoy some of those flowers. But we do have the risk of some patchy frost into the night tonight. Let me show you what it looked like a little earlier this afternoon with the CTV News chopper flying high above the Scarborough Bluffs. Look at Lake Ontario, absolutely sparkling after a pretty overcast start to the day and really first half of the afternoon. It was so nice to see that sun shine through the clouds, and we continue to see clearing at this hour. But the clearing, that's one ingredient that we need in order for frost to develop. I just want to point out the orange color that you're seeing there moving into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. That's a little preview again of some of the warmth that's headed our way in southern Ontario, just not tonight. Overnight, our forecast low is about 3 degrees. That is cooler than normal. 8 is the seasonal average as far as a low is concerned. A few clouds out there, but again, they're going to clear, and we do have the risk of frost. And as you can see, this frost advisory includes many different parts of the Greater Toronto area, including Durham region, portions of York region, extending over toward Kitchener-Waterloo, and then south toward the shoreline of Lake Erie and a widespread area of southwestern Ontario. So do take care when it comes to your plants or your flowers overnight tonight if you can. Our morning start shows that by the time the sun rises and we get a little bit of heat off of that sun, our temperature will climb to about 8 degrees at 8 a.m. Also want to point out the fact that tomorrow's sunrise time is going to be before 6 a.m. Those days continue to get a little bit longer out there. there. 16 is what we're forecasting for a daytime high tomorrow. That's a little bit warmer than today, but still a hair below seasonal. 18 is the average high at this point in the month of May. So here's a close look at the satellite and radar. We've seen that cloud cover drift away from us here locally throughout the day, and it's going to be a pretty active couple of days south of the border and in through the northeastern parts of the United States. Some sections of eastern Ontario are going to get a little cloud cover spillover as a result of that low. And here in the east end of the GTA, we might get a little bit of cloud as well. So there's tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, though, it's expected to be mainly sunny, maybe a little passing cloud into Saturday morning, but the rest of the day is looking good. And your Sunday at this point for Mother's Day looks pretty spectacular. Here is the 7-day forecast. Up around 19 degrees or 20 for Saturday. Again, it's going to be quite nice, comfortable. A little cooler into Sunday at 17 for the daytime high as you celebrate Mom. And then Monday and Tuesday, daytime highs into the 20s, maybe even the mid-20s. Upper 20s in some parts of the province. And look at this run of sun. It really continues into the day on Tuesday. Just a heads up, though, that starting Tuesday night and then continuing Wednesday and Thursday, this looks like our next best opportunity for getting some wet weather. But after this, I think we're going to need it, especially for those lawns and gardens out there. That's your look at the forecast for now. Nathan, for now, I'll send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, the dangers of consuming too much ultra-processed food and the impact on our health. A new study highlights the links between convenience and disease.
A new study out of McMaster University is shedding light on the connection between ultra-processed foods and poor health.
We get the details from our health reporter, Pauline Chan.
Scientists have long associated ultra-processed foods like cookies and cold cuts with health risks.
We looked at their intakes of ultra-processed foods, and we saw that as their levels of ultra-processed foods increase, so did their levels of these risk factors for cardiometabolic disease.
The study by McMaster University researchers looked at more than 6,000 adults.
They had higher BMIs and waist circumference. They had higher blood sugars, higher blood pressure, higher triglycerides, and interestingly, they also had higher levels of various inflammatory markers. And that was all independent of a number of lifestyle and socio-demographic variables. That indicates to us that ultra-processed foods are impacting our health in ways independent of our total caloric intake.
The study also found a strong association with C-reactive proteins.
CRP is a marker of our systemic inflammation. And so when we saw increased levels of that marker, kind of indicated to us that there was something in these foods outside of what our body typically registers as a food product that is causing this disruption or this inflammation in our systems.
Anthea Christoforou says, in fact, the body may even see ultra-processed foods as non-foods entering the body.
There's more work that needs to be done to parse out the mechanism behind this pathway.
Her advice to Canadians?
Trying to build meals around foods that are as close as possible to their natural form, things like fruits and vegetables.
The less processed a food item is, the better it is for the body. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
As concerns are raised regarding the province's handling of the measles outbreak, the case count continues to climb. Public Health Ontario says 1,440 measles cases have now been reported since October 2024. That's up nearly 200 from the week prior. 101 patients have been hospitalized and 95 of them were not immunized, mostly children. The outbreak's been concentrated in the province's southwest, but Premier Doug Ford has said his government is taking steps to encourage anyone and everyone to get vaccinated if they aren't yet.
Lord of the Rings fans now have a better idea of when to expect a new live-action film from the franchise.
Must have the precious.
We've known since last year a movie called The Hunt for Gollum was on the way, directed and starring Andy Serkis in the same role he played in the original Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films. While originally set to debut next year, multiple reports out of Hollywood today say Warner Brothers has set a release date of December 2027.
Legendary British rockers The Who are preparing for what they're calling a farewell tour. To be precise, the Who say they're embarking on a North American farewell tour. It will be titled The Song Is Over, and it will kick off in Florida in August with stops across the continent. That will include 2 shows at Budweiser Stage in September. And they're not the only musicians who set a Toronto tour stop today.
Since I was 17, I gave you everything. Now we wake from a dream. Well, baby, what was that?
Singer-songwriter Lorde is preparing for the debut of her album Virgin on June 27th. Lorde announcing today she's going on tour in support of the album. She'll play Scotiabank Arena on September 24th. Tickets go on sale next week.
After the break, BCE cuts its double-digit dividend. The reasoning behind the move and how the markets reacted. As we bring you the day's business headlines next. Updating our top stories, jubilation today in a packed St. Peter's Square as Cardinals choose a new pope to lead the Catholic Church. Leo XIV is the first American to serve as pope. The 69-year-old, formerly known as Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, was born in Chicago. The world is now watching closely for signals on how he plans to lead the church.
We're overwhelmed with joy that our prayers are heard.
I hope he'll be following Pope Francis's footsteps.
Catholics across the GTA were watching the conclave closely, with many celebrating the selection of Pope Leo XIV. Some also noting he was chosen after only 4 rounds of voting, celebrating a potential signal of unity within the Catholic Church.
For Florida, once for Toronto, scores! The Leafs have another lead!
And the Toronto Maple Leafs are in unfamiliar territory after beating the Florida Panthers 4-3 last night. They're now up 2-0 in their second-round series playoff against the defending Stanley Cup champions. This series returns to Florida tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos or video or breaking news, let us know.
For the first time in 17 years, BCE is cutting its dividend. BNN Bloomberg Marella Fernandez has more on what prompted the decision.
BCE announced today it is cutting its dividend by 56%. The parent company of CTV News and BNN Bloomberg was under pressure to make the cut. It has been paying out a double-digit dividend for years, and analysts warned Bell couldn't keep it up. BCE has more than $30 billion in long-term debt. Shares moved up on the news, ending the day 6% higher. Canadian Tire says its first quarter profit fell because of restructuring costs. The company is spending $2 billion over 4 years to revamp its business. The CEO says he was worried the trade war would keep consumers at home. But Greg Hicks says that hasn't happened. The Bank of Canada says a prolonged trade war could have serious economic consequences. The central bank warns of higher unemployment and slower growth, adding a drawn-out conflict would test the financial resilience of businesses in industries tied to trade. Here's how the trading day ended. The Canadian dollar is down almost half a cent to 71.83. West Texas Intermediate is up $1.82 to 59.52. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 48.79. And the TSX is up 92 points today to 25.254. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marella Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Shares in Shopify slid today as the company projected slowing profit growth in the current quarter. The Canadian e-commerce giant says profits will likely grow by less than the 20% analysts had forecast. Investors are also watching to see how the company is impacted by the U.S.-China trade war. The update overshadowed what Shopify said was a very strong set of results for the first part of the year, including 27% revenue growth.
And the parent company of Tim Hortons says profits were down in the first few months of 2025. Restaurant Brands International CEO Josh Kobza pointed to a drop in consumer confidence and broader uncertainty in the economy. The company also owns Burger King, Popeyes, and Firehouse Subs. Representatives said they're not overly concerned about the impact of Canada-U.S. trade tensions because most of its supply chains are already localized.
Microsoft founder and philanthropist Bill Gates says he will give away $200 billion of his fortune to the world's poorest people over the next 2 decades. Gates plans to divest and close the Gates Foundation by the end of 2045. The pledge comes at a time where some governments around the world are slashing international aid. Gates also criticized the world's richest man, Elon Musk, accusing him of, quote, killing the world's poorest children through the cuts made by the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency.
The Toronto Scepters are off to a good start in their quest to win their first Walter Cup.
Looking to tie it, 3 seconds to go! Toronto takes down Minnesota!
Toronto began their semifinal series against the Minnesota Frost with a 3-2 win last night. Julia Gosling led the way for the home team with 2 goals. Blair Turnbull also scored, and Kristen Campbell stopped 24 shots. Today, some of the players said it was a good win, but realized it was just the first game.
Obviously, we want to celebrate an amazing win, but I think you've also then got to, now refocus on the next game. Because obviously we've got to bring it every game if we want to get to the end goal, and we realize it's not just one game.
Just the feeling in the locker room after the game. There was a lot of people who felt like that was one of our best games all year. And I think it was definitely just a confidence boost of how we played and how we can continue to play. But obviously that was only one game, so we just got to keep that same mentality going into the next one.
The Scepters will host Game 2 of the series against the defending champions tomorrow at Coca-Cola Coliseum.
To baseball, and the Toronto Blue Jays will look to avoid being swept tonight.
Line drive, fair down the left field line. Paris comes in. Neto's on his way. That ties the game. The ball gets away in the corner. Shotwell comes home. It's over.
The Los Angeles Angels scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win 5-4 last night. The Jays also lost the first game of the 3-game set. Chris Bassett will take the mound for Toronto tonight.
Just ahead, one-of-a-kind artwork from over 200 independent creators. A new exhibit opens in the heart of the city, showcasing and celebrating emerging Canadian talent.
Tonight, elation over the newly elected Pope.
I couldn't stop my tears when I saw the white smoke, so I'm very glad.
What Canadians are hoping for from the head of the Catholic Church. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Great news for art lovers. Now you can lay your eyes on thousands of works of art in one place in Toronto.
You'll find it all in one place at the Artist Project at the Better Living Centre. CTV's Jessica Smith has the details.
Art in every form, everywhere.
The Artist Project is a huge art show. Here we have over 250 independent artists. So it's an opportunity to come and see work of any description, any media.
The show has been a space for almost 20 years for art lovers and artists to come together, to learn, share, and even purchase these one-of-a-kind works.
It is a very unusual circumstance to be able to have this kind of exposure to artists directly, and it is part of what makes the show so special.
From the microscopic detailed art to the large-scale installations, there's no shortage of things to see. And for emerging artists like Leslie Luce and Mackenzie Browning, it's an opportunity to make their debut in the Canadian art scene.
So each of my pieces is made up of thousands of cut pieces of paper arranged in concentric circles, and each ring represents a different element that links back to the subject matter.
This is actually my first time at the Artist Project too. I've been here as a visitor, of course, and it's so inspiring, but it's, I don't know, it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's all the emotions, right?
Making art accessible and engaging for all.
The Artist Project will be here at the Better Living Center on the exhibition grounds right through until May 11th. For more information on each of the artists and the show itself, you can visit theartistproject.com. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
One of many things to do this weekend, and weather should be cooperating.
You'll want to get outside, right? This is what we've been waiting for, a nice stretch, and also happens to be Mother's Day.
Oh, perfect. Mother Nature giving us a favor here. So things are looking pretty good, especially once we get past tonight. It is worth mentioning that we still have a frost advisory that is in place. Here's what that looks like, and it includes areas like Vaughan, Richmond Hill, Markham, also includes Pickering over toward Oshawa, City of Hamilton, Mississauga, Brampton, Halton Hills, and Milton. Just that risk of patchy frost through the night tonight. And then tomorrow at a glance, it's going to be another lovely afternoon, mix of sun and cloud. Daytime high 16 degrees, slightly cooler than our average temperature this time of year. There's Mother's Day, a high of 17 and plenty of sunshine for celebrating Mom. 7-day forecast looks like this. Our warmest weather looks to come through the early part of next week. Have the umbrella handy as early as Tuesday night, and then keep it handy for Wednesday and Thursday. Michelle and Nathan.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sechedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and everybody here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.